Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to our weekly watch list. Today is, what's today's date? Today is Sunday, March 26th. So interesting week in the market last week. Right now I have the ES chart up on the screen. And let's go to SPX. Oops. All right, let's go to SPX. So last week we broke the range of the previous week to the upside, right? So we expanded the range to the upside. We kind of, a couple weeks ago, we put this big nasty red candle, came down and retest somewhere where this buying pressure was back here. I'm actually going to remove this range for now. I'm going to hide it. We tested some of this previous range here, and then we found some buyers at a higher level. And prices just come back up, right? And we kind of broke the upside range. We worked our way to try to test the highs of this candlestick here. So it's really all about whether we can continue to try to, break the top of this candle here, which is at 40.39.49, to then try to get to the top of this candle, which is around 40.78, right? So above 40.40, we can get to 40.80, pretty much. Those are my targets for the upside for this week. If we do break down and kind of fail the upside move, my initial entry would be, for a big major move would be 39.49 to come back to test the bottom of this candlestick here at 39.09. Underneath 39.09, we can come and test the bottom of this candlestick here, right? So really just playing the range of the previous, this week's high versus last week's low. It really depends on where we're gonna go. But if you look at SPX, this is the SPX weekly chart, and just for some perspective, I mean, we formed like a fresh kind of high here, right? Still a lower high. This is the beginning of 2022, and we kind of been forming lower highs ever since then. Still kind of a lower high, so we're still like wedging. However, this is the pivot that we need to break in order to change the trend. Right now, we are forming a higher high on the weeklies. And a higher low on the weeklies, but we still need to take this pivot out in order for this to be like a macro long-term kind of, for it to turn around. Right now, I still consider it to be a bear market. Obviously, it can go in any direction. Some days is green, some days is red. It really depends. So all that to say, this is the ultimate upside target that we got to take out, which is at 43.25. And if we're going to retest the bottom, ultimate downside would be 34.91, right? So at the end of the day, we're still stuck in between these two levels, and until we break one of these levels, I think we're going to be range bound for a little bit with SPX. So I have a few, not too many to go through today, much less than last time, but I think there's some very, very beautiful setups, and most of them make sense only on a weekly perspective, right? So I was looking at weekly charts, and I always towards Thursday and Friday, I always start looking at weekly charts to kind of see how things are going to shake out. So you'll see me focus primarily on weeklies, and then I'll kind of dial into dailies on the ones on the charts that have like a kind of a better setup. So with Apple, I mean, Apple's very cut and dry, very clean and simple, right? Apple, as we discussed previously, you have this inverse head and shoulders forming. Here's your left shoulder. Here's your head down here. Here's your right shoulder. Right shoulder's higher than the left shoulder. Very small pullback. Actually, if you run a fib, let me run a fib real quick. From this point here to down here, and we see that Apple pulled back to just around the 61.8% fib, and it kind of bounced on that level, and it continued to move to the upside. So that's a nice healthy pullback, especially on a weekly time frame. And then to take out that high, this high here, last week was, I think, a very powerful move for Apple. The next couple of targets that we have for Apple are 160.54, which we're just 20 cents or 30 cents away from, and then obviously take out the high of the week. And then the next target would be that 164.26 level, which is the high of September 12th of last year, right? So, and Apple, again, I always start with Apple because it kind of dictates where the market's going to go. Like I literally start my day looking at SPX, looking at Apple, looking at QQQ, and then looking at whatever else might be in play, right? It's always, usually Apple's one of the first that I look at. Apple right now, I have a bias to the upside. I don't really see a downside for it. Let's look at the daily. Before I go to the daily, again, we got to just fill this wick right here with some price action. If we do break out above this high of this wick, then we'll be in the range of these two candles here, right? And so the next possible target would be the top of this, which is around 171. And then from there, we can try to target this 175. And then from there, the next one will be like around 180 or so. So, but let's take it week by week. I mean, we had a whole week. Last week we put in a strong candle, and then this past week we continue to move. We may pull back. If we do pull back, I want to see it form support above you see where this kind of top of this candlestick is and top of this candlestick is. I want to see support form above that area, which is at 150. What's that? 157.5, right? Form some support around on top of 157.50 before we can continue the upside move. And again, this might take a couple more weeks for this to shake out, but our ultimate target is going to be this 175 here. The next ticker that I have is Baidu. Baidu gave us a nice solid play for the past couple of weeks. And the real move really hasn't started yet. I'll show you what I've been targeting for this. Baidu's it's caught my eye ever since it's kind of been forming this channel here on the weekly. Let's do it from here. It kind of had this uptrend, a nice pullback. If we draw a fib on it, you can see that it's going to be another healthy level, right? Let me just draw it from the top here to the bottom. Got the full move. And it found support right again at the 61.8 fib. It's kind of hard to see. Let me actually darken this up a little bit. But again, 61.8 fib. Very key area, right? So let's do this one. Do one color. There you go. 61.8 fib, right? Again, comes into play. So it kind of made this big move to the upside, pulled back, found support at the 61.8, and then is kind of bouncing, right? We broke this channel so far last week. This is one that I kind of want to look at on the daily. So, I mean, Baidu's not the easiest to trade. You have to catch it when it's trending, because we can easily get caught up in some of this. All these 3 days were within the range of this Monday, right? Monday made a nice strong move, and then we kind of went sideways for the next 3 days until Friday, where we kind of popped up above. So what we want to see is it kind of stay where it closed at. It closed at 156.27. And then we want to see it try to take out that high of day, and then from there take out the 160.88, which will take out this pivot right here, the pivot of February 7th. And then from there, there's a lot of and we haven't really been in that area for a long time. Above that 160.88, we can try to target the top of this wick here at 170.35. So I'm not gonna get I'm not gonna get overzealous. I think that's a nice, good target for like maybe 2 weeks. But again, Baidu needs above that 160.88 in order to take that out. Now, I think that we have a nice downside setup here as well. Every time that price kind of enters this box here, let me just draw it out. Every time that Baidu enters this box, it gets pushed down. So if we do get price in this area and you don't see buyers aggressively stepping in and holding the price up, we can get a nice short play down to kind of retest the move of this week, which is these 5 candlesticks right here. So really come back to test from from this box at 164ish down to around 145. So a nice 10-point move to the downside if we get a nice if sellers step in at this area and really take control the way that they have in the past. So and again, for perspective, if you look at it on the weekly, maybe it opens up and it gaps up on some good news from China, and then a bunch of bulls step in and kind of bring the price up, and then sellers take control and bring it all the way back down. Is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like kind of a candlestick like this, kind of this upside down hammer, falling hammer, right? That's what I'm looking for. If we do want a downside setup, and again, if it does form the hammer, the play might not be during the hammer. It might be the play that comes after, the week after the hammer is formed, right? So again, right now upside is good, and we'll see what happens with downside if it does happen. But either way, I think Baidu's going to be a nice fun one for this week. The next one that I have is Amazon. Amazon, let me get rid of some of these levels. Amazon for me is just a very simple play on the weekly. Let me put some moving averages. I just want to see what the moving averages are on this. The 20, the 50, the 100, and the 200. So this black line is the 200 day, and every time, the past 3 times that it's got to this level, it's rejected, right? Here, 3 weeks in a row, rejected. This is the daily. This August 15th, rejected. And again on January 30th, rejected, right? Let me go to the daily so we can just see what that looks like. you know, we got a gap up into kind of a whatever formation, whatever this candlestick is called, at the 200 before it kind of fell down again, right? Coming back to it, we had kind of some consolidation, a nice pop up, you know, pop out of that consolidation after a gap up. So like this could have been a nice move to continue the move back to try to test some of these levels here at 158 and 170. But sellers are in force at this 200-day moving average, right? So, and then prior to that, we had some consolidation here. Maybe almost a week and a half worth of price action sitting right around the 200-day, and it failed immediately. You know, bear flag, you know, break down bear flag, 2 bear flags, 3 bear flags, into a double bottom, into some support. So actually looking at the daily, this area of support looks like it might act as resistance for Amazon. And we're just sitting at that level now. So let's go back to the weekly real quick to kind of analyze. Now, last week, and when I say last week, I mean not this one that just passed, but the one prior, this candlestick, we had a nice strong candle breaking a downside channel. Here we go. Let's see. Right, I'm just connecting some of these highs, and so Amazon broke out of this channel and formed a new high and took all these weeks resistance out. And then the following week, which was this past week, it formed a doji where buyers and sellers were kind of in a struggle, right? So what I'm looking for here is if we get the nice upside move, I would say maybe at the break of this, the high of this bar. Let me change the color of this so that it doesn't get confusing. Let's just make this green. Let's make it blue. So above the high of the previous week, we can potentially get a 3-bar play, right? Just another bar that's this same size, which will put us right around the 200-day moving average, right? So that's like, you know, maybe ultimately I'm looking for something that's going to land us right here, right? But on the daily, that's going to look a little bit different, right? That might look a little bit like, you know, pull up to this blue line, pull back to this kind of previous resistance level, break the blue line on the next day, pull back on the next day, and then on Friday, make it to the 200-day moving average, right? That might be what that ends up looking like. So Amazon, the way that I would play it is I would probably put a couple of weeks on it. You know, so instead of looking at 331s, maybe you want to look at the first week in April expiration, which let me just get the date real quick on that. Where's my calendar? Yeah, maybe you want to look at the 7th, right? The 7th expiration. And then what is that? That's like 110. I will call it the 4/7/110 calls. Right, we're about $12 out of the money, maybe even the 115s. That way you get a nice price action, some price far out enough where it's not too expensive, but in the direction. Just in case we do break above this high of this week, or the high of this week will be the better entry, right? So the first entry will be $100.99. The safer entry will be above 102. You know, in order to kind of get a continuation play on this. And if you put a couple of weeks on it, if you get weeklies, obviously you want the play to happen within the week. But you buy some extra time on it, and then you get like a kind of a sideways choppy week this week, and next week you get like an explosion, right? So we'll see. But I think the ultimate target is to retest this 200-day at around 100, and I mean we'll probably meet it at around 106 or something, right? 107 and a half, 106, maybe down here somewhere. Let's go to the daily. You know, it's looking like it's in a really nice spot, Amazon, and the reason why is because we had this low that's way down here at around 81, and then we formed a new high. We came back and formed a higher low over here. The low of this candlestick is $88.12, and now we have the opportunity to kind of maybe not form a new high and continue the uptrend, right? Maybe not get higher than this 113, but maybe start to form kind of a wedge, right? So I'm going to draw from here to here, continue the move, right? Something like this. And then potentially something like maybe it kind of slows down where my resistance line is right there, right? And let price kind of coil up around the inside of this pendant before it breaks up or down. So Amazon's top watch. I really love this hammer that formed on the 50-day moving average. the daily play would be break above day high. We could target the high of this previous day, which is 100 and what number is this? It looks like 101 and 6 cents, right? 101 will be the target, which will give us like a $3 move. So break above day high, straight to 101. You could get 101 calls, 102 calls, whatever they come in. And I think that, especially since we kind of made this nice 4-day move to form a new high, pulled back, tested the 50, rejected based on what was going on in the market these 2 days, right? We had a nice red day in the market these 2 days. And then this last day, buyer stepped in and kept it above the 50, which is very important. So a nice continuation move above, again, 98.30 will bring us $100 and then 101 is what I'm looking at for Amazon for the next couple of days, right? And then obviously further out would be a retest of that 200-day moving average. If we can get above the high of last week and this previous support here at 102.75, and then that'll bring us into this trend line, which might bring us into this 200-day. So that's the game plan for Amazon. And Amazon is a great play, I think, if you're looking at holding long-term shares. But again, I would wait for it to kind of break out above this, maybe see what it does at the 200 before you think about buying. But if you want to scale in, now is a good time to kind of get your feet wet, right? Look at kind of where it's at with its lows. It's not too far off. I mean, you didn't get it at 88, but you can get it at 98. So I think it's a good play. Next one is Meta. Meta, this thing has been an absolute monster ever since it kind of fell here. It bounced. My boy, he's actually on a call right now. He bought it down here, and he sold it he bought it down here. I don't know what price that is. I think it's like 80 something. I think I mentioned this on the last call too. He bought it at 88.09, and I think he sold it at the very top of this candlestick. So he got like over 100% on his play, on shares. So very nice play. But anyway, it kind of fell down, pulled back, and it's been testing this moving average right here, this 20-day. Go to the daily real quick. It kind of fell down into the 20-day, consolidated, gapped up, came back, retested it, made a new high, pulled back a little bit, and now it's getting really, really tight. Now, the reason why I like Meta as one of my favorite setups for the week is because we broke the range of the previous week to the upside, right? We made new highs. I got you on Lulu. We made new highs, and so now we're back in this territory where we can start to undo this nasty, nasty wick right here. Look at this. Look at all the sellers that are sitting here on this wick. Right, we have these same sellers that are on these 3 candles came back in for more, and they kind of sold this whole candlestick off for this whole week and brought it down into a nasty downtrend. Now we're at an area where we're above all this previous resistance, and now we're into the resistance of that 1 week. So I want to see it kind of work its way into the and that's why if you look at the daily, that's why price has been kind of so sideways and choppy, because the buyers have to cut through all of that sell pressure that's there, right? So the target for the upside will be 224.30. I actually think, let me see, I think I called some Meta April 21st swings. Let me see where they at. Find it real quick, because I remember looking at it on like Tuesday or something when I did the midweek review, and I remember saying, wow, this looks like it has a nice continuation in it. So Meta. Meta 421 225s. So yeah, 421 225s. My ultimate target for this is 224.30, and then if we can peek our head above that, then 225 will get in the money pretty quickly. So nothing's changed on that. Now the daily's beautiful. I mean, we got that inside bar, which gives us a nice clearly defined range to trade, right? We don't got to worry about trying to find targets or trying to find entries. The entry for this would be break above the high of Thursday, would give us, break 207.88 would give us 210, and then from there we get it to 212. Break below the low of Thursday, we can try to test the low of Wednesday, and then from there we can try to test the low of Tuesday, and then maybe work our way down into Monday, right? Which would be healthy for Meta, because it would pull back to this 20-day again and test it one more time. So either way, I'd be quite happy with it. But again, the upside would be, I would call it, where's 210? I would call it maybe that right there, that right there, that right there. And then we can test. I always use previous highs and lows as my targets. There's no reason not to, you don't got to complicate these things. Meta break to the upside, those are your targets. Meta come break to the downside, these are your targets. And then the final target will be the 20-day moving average. But the main focus, let's not lose focus. The main focus is continuation of this move, especially after this weekly bull flag, massive flag pull, and then like a little kind of flag, a fake out here, pullback, and then there's the breakout. 2 weeks ago's candle's the breakout. So we're looking for the continuation. The next one let's look at Lulu real quick. Actually, remember Lulu having a nice setup on the weekly as well. So Lulu has a morning star doji reversal pattern on the weekly. So let me go to the daily real quick because I want to see what this is a gap, I think. Yeah, this is a gap. So we still have this gap to fill on Lulu, and it's been there since that last gap down from the previous earnings, right? So even though they reported good earnings per share and good revenue, it's still gapped down. I guess the expectation was much higher, but things can go in the exact opposite direction, especially since we've just crossed the threshold past holiday season. So that earnings was Thursday, December 8th. We've had all the sales that led up to holidays right after that. And, so you have all the holiday sales occurring during this time. And then you have, everyone who's like rushing to start to like get into the gym at the beginning of the year, right? So you have all this time here is the people that are working their way into the gym, and then you have the people like me who are changing their dietary habits and working their way into their summer body. So I think that Lulu is going to benefit from a lot of the consumer behaviors that occurred after the last earnings, right? Now we did break down below this previous low, and you see this alert that I had set up here at 289.26. I wanted to play puts beneath that, but buyers defended it, right? Buyers defended it and kept the price above it. So there was no put in play. We actually, the last time I reviewed this, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day it was, and we had this kind of hammer at the top of the range. And I thought it was going to come back down, which is why I kind of set this target here, but it never came back down. It broke out above, and then seller stepped in, but price is still trending higher, right? We formed an inside day on Thursday. The price of Thursday is within the price of the range of the price of the previous day of Wednesday. And then on Friday, we broke out above the high of Thursday, and we ran right into that 200-day moving average. So, and buyers had control. They couldn't close it above the 200-day moving average, but this is a very strong candle. We also had the 50-day that was holding us down on Wednesday and Thursday. So I think let's take the small win, right? We took the small win and we kind of broke out above the 50. We tested the 200. So the next thing would be to do would be to kind of break above that 200 and close above it. Even just a penny above it is a massive victory. And then, so my ultimate target, if this continues to the upside, especially after breaking out of this channel, if it continues to the upside, then the target would be this 319.13. Which is kind of the top of the range here. And then the next target would be the 100-day moving average at 323. And then above that would be 327.76. Now, let me see. They report on Tuesday after hours. So I'm going to check TradingView real quick to see if they are, Thinkorswim rather, to see if they have a market maker number. To see what the expected volatility is. Let me just check real quick. I doubt that they'll have one today. Maybe they'll have one tomorrow. Okay. So they do have a market maker number. It's an expected move. If you use Thinkorswim, it's always like if you go to the trade tab, it'll give you like a plus or minus and like a little 3MMM logo. And it'll give you the number, and that's the move that is expected for the ticker to make for that week based on an economic event such as earnings or, maybe CPI or whatever the case is, whatever can catalyze this to make a nice move. So they're expecting this to make a $23.99 move. So $24 to the upside or downside. So, from where it's currently at, $24 will put this at around 337 rather. So it'll break above all of this resistance and bring price right underneath this gap, right? So right around here, and then $24 to the downside will bring us right back to pretty much the bottom of this channel here. So it can go either way. I can't, the thing with earnings is like you really have to analyze. Like the technical setup can be there for a perfect upside or downside play, but the issue with earnings is you never know how people are going to react to it, right? I mean, like even with the positive earnings report, this one there was a beat on both revenue and earnings per share, and even with that, this thing gapped down insanely, right? It went from what is this? 374 down to as low as 323. So 50 points to the downside, or $50 to the downside rather, right? So like, and that's with a good report. So you never know. I like it to continue to the upside, especially since it kind of broke this, this support here, came down, kind of formed a spring, right? It came all the way down, bounced, and then kind of continued this upside move, even with some red candles and some sell pressure. It's still trending upwards, right? It's still making new highs on the daily, it's still making higher lows on the daily. So I mean, in terms of a technical, it looks like it's great to the upside, but we really don't know. And anything at that point would be a gamble. The only thing that you want to do is, like, let's say you want to trade Lulu through earnings and you don't know where they're going to go, but you want to try to make money. The only thing to do would be to try to land within those $24, right? That's the best thing to do, because if you land outside of that $24, then you're going to get killed by IV crush. So that's really the goal. I mean, and I do not think that anybody should be trading earnings unless you're like super profitable and you want to see if you can, if you're willing to take the hit. But I don't really recommend it. But either way, I think, technically it looks like it's set up to go higher. But again, who knows? So I would have to take a look at, and I would guess that capturing their Christmas earnings, the new New Year's resolution earnings or New Year's resolution sales, and the summertime, the pre-summertime kind of workout crowd like myself. So I would take that into consideration. Maybe they report something really good. I don't know. Also, I would go back to their previous earnings report and see what the expectation was for guidance, right? I think, let me see, it says it here. Yeah, they're estimating an earnings per share of $4.259 earnings per share, and they are estimating a $2.7 billion revenue. So they really have to strongly beat that, and so maybe look for some reports or some kind of sales trends or something that's gonna support them massively beating this. Not beating it by a little bit like they did the last time, but like really demolishing it. That'll bring it to the upside. But again, it's hard to say. The next one that I have is, where was I? Did Baidu, did Amazon, Meta, Tesla. Let's look at Tesla. So Tesla on the daily doesn't look too interesting. I mean, there kind of is a cup and handle here. Right here's your cup. Kind of pull back a little bit, forming a little bit of a handle, finding some support on that 20-day, finding some support at the previous areas of support, right? Good for a continuation. China's plants are reopening as well, so that's a nice catalyst for Tesla. Tesla actually has a bunch of catalysts occurring this week, and I think I read something. I think it was DYT or somebody, or maybe I just saw it on Twitter. It was like a lot of different things occurring in the market that stand to affect Tesla properly, right? So like one of the things is like Twitter has some sort of resolution that they're going to come out with this week. Things like that, just things that show that maybe he's going to focus back on Tesla. I think Tesla's primed to, not now, but in the future, definitely go back to retest his highs. Not in a way that it's so parabolic. Let's go to the weekly real quick. Not in a way where it just makes these insane jumps the way that it did from like here back at $22 all the way up to, at the end of that run, it was $230, $290. I don't see something like that happening, but I do see some very slow, solid growth coming out of Tesla, especially with some, some of the technologies now coming out, such as the, they're working on that robot. They're working on bringing the price point of the cars down. There's just a bunch of good news surrounding Tesla right now. And the China reestablishing their factories is just a small piece of it, right? Elon kind of finding, getting Twitter worked out is a small piece of Tesla, whether you think it is or isn't. So I like the weekly better than the daily. The reason why is because there's a nice little bounce out of this consolidation and rip, right? So we had this kind of consolidation at the bottom of this broadening formation here, and then big, strong week, 6-week move to the upside, 7-week move to the upside, right? And then it kind of pulled back and it found support between the 61% fib and the 50% fib, which is like the golden zone, right? Between 618 and 50. That's a golden zone where kind of, if you see buyers step back in that area, the likelihood is that they're going to take out this high, right? So you've seen us kind of blasting Tesla all week long since the last time that we had this call. And Tesla's another one that kind of stays on my chart pretty much all the time, right? I usually have like a little Tesla chart in the corner because of I like the way that it's been moving lately. I like that it's been, for me personally, been a little bit more predictable. If it chooses one direction during the day, usually it'll go for that direction for most of the day, and if it bounces hard, right? So it usually gives us a nice play one way or the other. Right now we have this resistance line that we're kind of fighting, and there's also kind of an inverse head and shoulders. Let me get rid of this, get rid of that. I'll leave these lines because they're still in play, but there's a shoulder here at 187.61. Here's your head down here at 164, and then it kind of formed this handle breakout, and now it's forming a kind of a right shoulder here at the same level. So we want to break down above this trend line. I would treat that as a neckline also, right? Break down above that trend line and then kind of try to test some of these high levels. Final target for this would be 217.61. And then above that would be 234. Then above that would be the trend line. So, obviously let's focus on piece by piece. I think that we need to really break this trend line. If we can't break that trend line, then we're probably going to head back down to test this support here at 176.35 and even come back down to this support to test it once more at 162.78. So I'll be watching Tesla. I think that it has a better look to the upside right now, especially on a weekly. But we're not gonna jump in right away until we see the first couple of days shake out. Next one is Walmart. Let me just take a quick sip. Walmart. Walmart. So these weekly charts they're just beautiful. Now, I drew out this channel on Walmart. Whenever I forgot when the last time I looked at it, but we basically have this high here at 147.86, and we have this kind of low here that formed on this candlestick at 138.17. Now we've been ranging between those two, that area, for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we broke down 3 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, buyers stepped in to bring it right back into the channel. And last week, buyers continued to bring price above the high of that previous week. So I think that we're going to work our way back to the top of this channel. I don't have an expectation of breaking out or anything, right? But I think that take out the pivot of the highs of these 2 days here at 142.65 and 143.09. Will bring us into the high, towards the middle of the channel. And it's just basically take out one high at a time. Take this one out, that one out, then this one. Then we have kind of one in the middle here that looks like an interesting area. Just if you look across the screen at the cursor, you form dojis on this, you have highs on this, you have lows on this, you have like all kinds of price right around this 145.48 level, right? Very, very key level. So if you're interested in trading Walmart, I would keep that level on your chart for sure, that 145.48. Gaps, we have gaps on this level, all kinds of stuff. Let me zoom out. I actually want to see if there's more. Yeah, we have all kinds of gaps and all kinds of activity. Even over there, there's a pivot all the way in the left at this level, right? Way over here. So, I would keep that level on your chart. 145.48. And then, above that, I think we can come and test the highs of that channel. But this is just like SPX. It's kind of locked into a range until it breaks down below and starts forming candles under here, and then breaks this. Obviously, now it has to break that support there. I would have to really see it break down below this candlestick before it can come falling. But right now it looks like it's headed up and working its way back to that 147.86. So I would just take a look at that. Perhaps see maybe if you like the 150s, maybe buy like a month out or something on it for Walmart. I just got news that Apple sees its first insider sale in over 4 months, with the chief operating officer dumping $30 million in stock this week. So $30 million worth of stock was sold. Let me see if I can find the date. On March 22nd. So, and that was Wednesday, which was this day. $30 million stock sale on this day. So interesting. Usually they obviously insiders will sell when they, especially the COO, they know how things are kind of going. So usually it goes like CEO will make the decision. COO will see the CEO's decision through, and then CFO will report kind of where that decision landed us. And if the COO is saying, "Oh shit, let me sell," I mean, it could easily be them taking profit. They could have loaded down here at 125.33. So I would be interested in seeing when that person actually the last transacted. Jeffrey Williams. I would be interested to see when they last transacted. So I would look back into that history, but they could have easily bought. Jeffrey could have easily bought down here and rolled this whole thing up, and now he's just taking some money off the table, right? Maybe he's thinking about retiring, right? And so he's like, all right, let me just slowly liquidate this. It could be that, or it could be like, oh shit, Apple's in trouble, right? Who knows? But actually looking at the daily, and we didn't get to look at Apple daily. Looking at the daily, I love we have the kind of a double inside bar situation set up here. Now on Thursday, we did break down below the range of of Wednesday's candlestick. But we didn't get to take out the highs yet, right? So we have tightening range here, which if you look at the 2 hour, let's look at the 1 hour. Let's look at the 30. Fuck it. Look at the 30. We have, when you see the range tightening like that, all that's doing is kind of forming a wedge. So we have this wedge that Apple's currently trading in here. And then we tested the bottom a bunch of times. I think we've tapped that line 3 times now, right? After hours here, we tapped it again the next day, and then we tapped it again at the very open the next day. So the support's there. So I think this has a continuation to the upside. But again, it needs market support in order to do it. Now, when Jeff Williams sold, it must have been, one of these few candles, or maybe even this one, where it just brought price way down. And even with all that sell, price still recovered and kind of retested some of the higher levels within this range. So we'll see. There's nothing to do but see. Now I will be following that pretty closely to see who. Maybe there's other sellers. Maybe there's some bad news that's about to come out of Apple, and then that's how you get your follow through, right? And that won't happen right away. It'll happen in weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe another month. But if nothing does happen, maybe it's just him taking profit. So I would do a deeper dive in that. I'm actually writing a note for myself to kind of look into it and see if I can identify where this dude bought. Just writing a note. Okay. Because again, if he bought this, down here in the 125 area, then that's just some profit taking, and there's nothing wrong with that. So let's see. Duolingo is the next one. Duolingo. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly's insane on this. So Duolingo kind of formed this flag, this channel. A bunch of a bunch of buyers stepped in and brought the price way back into the channel. There was a little bit of indecision the following week, and then the next week a massive explosion, breaking all this previous resistance and working its way into the middle of the range of this channel, or this candlestick here. The following week, we took out the high of this candlestick, and we kind of closed within this range here, right, where this 3 previous weeks price action was stuck. The following week, we tested that area as support, and then we bounced from there and took all this resistance out and came towards the upper levels of the range of this candlestick. The following week, we took out the high of this candlestick and tested the highs of this candlestick, right? So very strong move out of Duolingo. It pulled back and found some support. Just looking at that looks like a 61% retracement from the bottom here, right? We made this big, massive move, pulled back, found support right between the 61.8 and the 50% range. So again, a golden retracement, that's called. And after a golden retracement, we got a massive breakout week. Massive breakout week. Now, there's no, obviously there's always some coincidence where it occurred right at earnings, right? Definitely a positive earnings result. Ended up with Duolingo opening up at 87.75 and closing, and going as high as 121 before closing at 119, right? The next week we kind of formed a new high, but then sellers stepped all the way back in, and then buyers again are in control. Buyers have been taking this just buyers have been insane with this. So I love Duolingo on the weekly. Duolingo is very, very tough to trade because the spreads are very wide. So you got to go really, really far out, go wherever you see all the volume and open interest on it. and just like hold on tight. Put your seatbelt on, take it off your screen, go focus on something else, buy some time on it, and just hold on, because what ends up happening is you'll get like weird choppy days like these few days, and you'll get nice gappy moves like that. You get weird choppy days such as like this day. Even like this day was a nice day if you bought it and sold it the same day, but if you were holding, it didn't really do much, right, these few days until it started to kind of break out of that range. So my advice would be just to like kind of buy it and hold it, buy some time on it, chill, be patient, and don't be in a rush to get filled either, right? Set your fill, let it come down to it. If it's unreasonable, then just wait for another opportunity, right? But don't rush into it, because this thing sometimes like you'll get filled, market fill, and you'll get like a really dirty fill on it. So again, I love it for the inside bar, right? We formed this red candlestick. Buyer stepped in at a holding price right in the middle of this previous candlestick. So now we have good space, good room to go test the top, and also can test the bottom, right? Either way would be a good move. Again, based on all of the strength for the past bunch of weeks, ever since pretty much down here, all this room, nice retracement and continuation. I think that this has some more momentum to the upside. My ultimate target for this would be 150, which is just right here, right? It's not too far away, right? Here's your 150. It's not too far away. We can get there 2-3 weeks pretty easily. So maybe by a month, the 150 calls for a month out, or for if you're a little riskier, maybe the 421s. Will give us enough time to capture that move. The next one is UPS. UPS on the weekly, we have an inside week. Inside on the weekly. And a perfect doji closing above all these previous levels of resistance here, right? Previous close, we're higher than all these previous closes here. So, I mean, we're still in a level where sellers are in control, so we can easily come down. But that's the beauty of these inside bars. You can play them anyway. Like, especially with this perfectly formed one, you can play at the very, at the break of the open or the break of the close. You can play to the top of the candle or the bottom of the candle. And that's your first target. The second target would be the top or bottom of previous candle, depending on, which direction it's going in. So I think there's a beautiful setup on UPS. We go to the daily. And again, it has an inside week and it has an inside day. So what does that sound like? It sounds like a wedge, right? It sounds like a wedge. So there's your resistance. And this is obviously extremely ugly, but just to kind of illustrate the point, right? You see the price just bouncing up between these two levels before it breaks out to the upside or downside. Now, if you look at it on the daily, this is the daily chart, and we have that inside week, inside day. So breakout above, whichever direction this goes is going to make a big move. Just based on how much has been kind of tightening up, right? So I'm looking at it to the upside, especially with this kind of bounce, these higher highs, higher lows, good price action kind of holding in the middle of the range. If I throw a volume study on this, I bet that we are sitting right on top of a volume profile. Let's see. Yeah, we're sitting right on top of a volume profile. The next level will be that 187 level, break above 187. We can easily cut through all this previous price, right? Very, very easily. But we need to get above that 187 level, which is right here, right? This kind of node right here. And that will bring us up to the, so I'm just going to set my alert at 187. Set my alert right here, 187. Right? Yeah, it's funny. Like E sits right next to me, and so I'll hear his alerts on TOS on TradingView, and I'm like, what's going off? And I'm like start scrolling through everything. But this is a good level for UPS to break out, to try to test some of these upside levels. And again, we're gonna get a nice big move. It might be time for maybe 2 week swing on this. And I think that the market is in a place where we can get back to like 2 week swings. So above this level, we can target that 190, or even like the 195 calls, right? Break below. Now there's a lot of support sitting here at 183, but then there's a nice gap between 183 and 178. So that's a nice 5-point move. So I'm gonna go ahead and set another alert over there. And you see me just kind of looking at this volume. Not volume on a time axis down here, but like volume on a price axis. This is where all the volume is traded. So you see where the most volume is going to be the toughest area to kind of break through. So I just set my alerts at where those levels are on the volume study. Let me go back to my basic. So that's for UPS. It can go either way. I'm leaning towards upside. based on what I see on the daily chart. Next one's Microsoft. So Microsoft, let's look at the weekly. Beautiful inside bar towards the top of the previous week's candlestick. Didn't retrace down to 50% of the candlestick, so very strong resting bar. All the momentum indicators are pointing up for the most part. RSI is pretty flat, but looks like it has some more headroom. Breakout above the high of this past week, and we can target the high of the previous week. Above the high of the previous week, we can target this 294 level pretty easily. This is a potential 3-bar play happening here on the weekly. I'm just gonna check in Goldmine because I know that Jake put out a Microsoft play. Microsoft 331, 285 calls, right? So if you're not in that play, and he mentioned there's a swing. If you're not in that play, I would consider getting into it if the setup is still set up nicely on Monday morning. So pretty much if it's anywhere within the range of like this body on this candlestick, right, this body here or above, I think it's A1, right, to come and test maybe even that 295. And I would put, if you don't want the if you want to target the 295, I would give it a couple more weeks. His target is 285, which would be just like a nice little breakout above this candlestick into the middle of this candlestick here is the one that we're targeting here. So either way, I think it's a very nice play, especially after this massive move. Let's look at the daily. Daily, you have kind of a cup and handle. Right here's your cup. Bounced off that 50-day twice, double bottom off the 50-day, big move up. Kind of a bull flag here, and now it's starting to break out, right? It's starting to break out. Now we do have a kind of an inside day, a double inside day, right? We have this day inside the range of this day, and then this day looks like it's, let me just zoom in on it just to make sure. Beautiful setup on Microsoft. Let's see. The low of this day was 275.28. The low of this day was 275.20. So double inside day, right? The range is getting tighter. It's a green candlestick. Easily can break out above this high here at 280.63. Take out that 281 pretty much, take out both of these levels pretty much in one candlestick. We got the 786 fib here, which might be a level where it kind of slows down, but my ultimate target for this is 294.18. Again, 2 weeks, 2 week play on that. Let's see. Yeah, 2 week play on that. So yeah, I'm looking for the 3-bar play on the weekly. The next one is Pepsi. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, okay. I got that one after. All right. So Pepsi. This is a weekly. The reason why I like it is very simple. We formed this continuation of higher lows on a weekly. So here's a low, higher lows, higher lows, right? They just keep getting higher. And we jumped off of that 50-day moving average, right? Now we did get a bearish cross, death cross, the 50 crossing through the 200. But look at this, it's curling right back up. It looks like it's going to cross it to the upside and kind of refresh the upside move. So we do have the 50 bounce, and then price broke out above this high, this high, this high, this high, this high. It's making new highs. Since the beginning of the year. So we're going back to target the very first week highs of this year, right? Above the high of this week, it very clearly can take out this body, take out this top of this doji, take out the top of this one, take out the top of the, all these wicks. Clear targets to the upside. And then we have the 50 sitting as support right there. Let's go to the daily real quick. Good consolidation, good breakout, a little bit of pullback to test that move. Right here's it kind of came back and tested, found support where there was previous resistance, and then it bounced from there. It made a new high, and then sellers came in. I guess a bunch of sellers were sitting here waiting, and it sold it all the way back off. Made a new low for the day on Thursday, but then buyers stepped in and brought the price way back up. And let me just see, this is 179.37. This is 179.34. So just 3 pennies off from making a new high. So break out above this high, we could test that 180.44. And then above that, very easily, you can come and work our way up to that 186. That 186 might give us maybe a month worth of time before we can get to that level. Now, I love all this consolidation into a move, another consolidation into a move, another consolidation into a move. This is a little bit of consolidation, but I think that there's a lot of momentum to the upside on this. So I want to see it kind of break into this channel here. Let me draw the box. I want to see it break into this area here and look for consolidation in that area before it can continue to do the upside move. So it might be 2-week expiration, take the 180s, and then wait, let it consolidate, scalp, within this range, and then break above this 182.75-ish. We can play 190s, right? Break out continuation or kind of a pullback, whatever it gives us. But I like it to the upside right now. Let's look at Target. Target's not on my list this week because it doesn't have a beautiful weekly setup at the moment, but it does have a very nice daily setup. Oh, this is the daily setup. Yeah, so it does have a nice. So the thing about Target that I like, and the only reason why I think I called it last week, and we're in the 331 160 calls. The reason why I like it is because I think that we're gonna come back to test this 200-day moving average, which is right here. It puts us at 159.21. Now the reason why I like it is because we filled this gap. We filled this gap here on the left hand side. Finally, right? It's been since January 5th that we haven't been back at this price, and sellers forced us down into this price, but then buyers stepped in and brought it way back into into the top of the gap. So I just want to see it kind of retest that 200-day before maybe it fails. So that's it. That's pretty much the play for this week, is let it break out above the high of the day and then go and test that 200-day moving average. At that point, the 160 calls, we got them at $1.18. Again, I'm targeting 159.30 and then 161.50, which would put us around right around here if we can get it, which is like the bottom of this candlestick. And then I'm testing the top of this candlestick at 163, and then the top of this one at 165. If we can get into these levels, into the levels of the high of these two candlesticks, we can get to this 50-day, right? So but the play that we have, the first target is that 200-day moving average. So we'll see what happens. Again, it's not on this call because it's not the cleanest, it's not the most ready setup. So I'm not truly in love with it, but I think that it's still a good play to the upside. Next one that I have is Pinterest. And then we have 4 more. Those last 2 we're not going to discuss. Hang on one second. All right, sorry about that. All right, so Pinterest. So Pinterest gave us a nice move to the upside last week. We bought it on this day and it kind of gapped up and opened up here and gave us a better price, and it went as high as 28.53. Some 3 red candles back to back. This looks like it has ready for a nice downside play. I have it earmarked for downside for this week, so break below, and we have an inside day here. The low of this day is 27.22. Previous day is 27.22 as well, right? So it went back and just retested the low, and kind of bounced there. Price is tightening up into this kind of bottom side of this range of these 3 candles here. So I want to see it break down below this candlestick and work its way down to 26.93. And then from there, kind of test this previous resistance. And it might just bounce there, right? It might just fall and just bounce there. If it doesn't bounce there for whatever reason, I want to see it kind of test that 50-day moving average. So that's it. That's the setup for Pinterest. Nothing crazy. Yeah, I mean, good consolidation on the weekly. It's been consolidated and trading kind of sideways for a very, very long time. So it might be getting ready to, let's look at that weekly again. It might be getting ready to, you see, look at this, like red candle, black candle, red candle, black candle, like just sideways, not really making new highs or lows, but maybe after some, we can get a nice break into one of these big flushy moves where we get 3 or 4 weeks back to back of a move. So looking back at the daily, I see some downside pulling back to this 50 potentially. If we do break above the high of Friday's candlestick, we can test the high of Thursday's candlestick. And if we can break above the high of Thursday's candlestick, then we can test this high and then this high. So it really depends on which way Pinterest wants to go. Which way kind of it'll take us, right, for this week. Now I'm just looking quickly at the earnings calendar. I have just like 3 or 4 more. I think 4 more to go through. 4 more to go through. But before I get to those, I just want to look at the earnings calendar. So we have CCL, we have Lulu, we have MU. MU is going to be an interesting one. Let's look at MU. MU looks like it's forming a 3-bar potentially, right? Big move breaking above previous resistance, inside bar. So MU is going to be one that I think we should watch, especially with earnings coming out tomorrow. There might be a potential for it to make a nice move. They have, when is it, tomorrow morning? Oh, Tuesday morning. Or Tuesday night. Okay. So we might have a potential play there tomorrow into Tuesday that you can kind of swing overnight from Monday to Tuesday, sell right before earnings. Especially with, I know that whole sector, SOXL, the semiconductor sector has been moving pretty nicely for the last couple of weeks, right? Trending upward. So I think MU can benefit from, or Micron rather, can benefit from the move that's going on there. Another one that's reporting earnings this week is WBA. It looks like maybe some buyers are stepping in this level. We broke the range to the downside, but we didn't really break the range to the upside on that candlestick. And WBA, which is Walgreens, break above the high of Thursday, we can get to the high of Wednesday, right? And I mean, I wouldn't trade it unless there's an A1 setup. This is a nice setup. The better setup would be to break above this candlestick to target this candlestick, right? That would be probably the better setup. So I'm gonna keep it on watch. It might give us a nice play. And I know that Walmart contracts are super cheap, and they pay pretty quickly. I traded, one of my best trades actually was a Walmart trade that I got from the bot, and it was like a 200% trade in like 15 minutes or something like that. And I just caught it at the perfect time. So maybe we'll get another opportunity at that. Let's see. Lovesac, Futu. Futu is like one of those Chinese tickers sitting on the 50-day, so that might give us a nice move. Sitting on the 50-day with an inside bar. Buyers stepping in to keep it above the 50-day. Below that, below the low, we have the 200-day sitting right there. Above that, we have kind of some price action up here. The big play would be above that 52.58 to go and test that 56 level. And then below that 200, we can probably test this support here at 44. But right now, looking at where buyers are keeping it, it looks like it wants more upside. Let's see. I'm just looking for big names that might catalyze some of these other companies. I don't really see anything else. Yeah, I don't see anything else. What's this? Yeah, I don't know what this is. All right, so let's get to the last four. Costco on a weekly. Costco, what I like about Costco is it held that support line that we drew here. Buyers, I mean, it looked like it was kind of weak towards the beginning of the week, but buyers stepped in and brought it back up. Took it up above the previous high of this week and the previous week. And now we have some previous resistance to test. I want to go to that daily. We're above the 50-day on Costco finally. And I say finally because it's been many days since we've been below it, ever since the 28th of February. So we're back above it. And now we have this 200-day to test. I want to set my alert for Costco pretty much at the 200-day. Above that 200-day, we can really get funky. This thing moves $20 a day sometimes. So I'm looking for something like that. Breaking above that 200-day would probably mean breaking above that 498. I would let it break even above that 500, and I would get into like the 510s, 515, 520s, and then just trade like a $5 move on it. You know, take a $5 move on it. That'll give you 100% pretty easily. If it fails below that 50-day, then we can test this 490 and then the 487 and the 485. So it's just in a range where you can kind of, you know, and again, I'm looking at it for the upside because it's above that 50-day finally. It might go sideways and then do it the next day. So I set my alert for the 200-day. So we'll see. Next one is AMD. Now, again, beautiful setup on the weekly. We got that massive bar breaking above all previous resistance, breaking above this 50-week moving average, sitting in the middle of the broadening formation. Right, here's your broadening formation that's been setting up for months and months and months. right? We got the higher highs and the lower lows. We have that resting bar on the week. Even with that resting bar, it gave us a nice couple of days of action. So I want to see a continuation, right? I want to see it break above the high of the previous week, stay above it, test like the 90 is going to bounce between 100 and 99 a bit, and then continue to try to break out and make new highs. Final target will be 110 for that, for the final move on that, which will give us a 3-bar play. Let's look at the daily. And right now, all it's doing is, you know, it doesn't look great because there's a bunch of sell pressure sitting out here at 101. But all it's doing is retesting some of this previous support, some of this previous resistance as support. You see it came all the way down, and buyers stepped in and brought the price back up. So we want to see where buyers and sellers are tomorrow. If it kind of holds within this range, then we can continue to the upside. If not, then maybe we can come and test some of the bottom of these levels. But I'll be watching AMD pretty closely. I got to look at it on smaller time frames before I can start setting alerts, but I'll have that in the morning, and I'll share that with you once I have it, once I put the play out. Next one is Google. Google gave us a beast of a play last week, and for the past couple of weeks, and I think that there's more to it. You see a nice consolidation, strong move, right? So I'm looking for it to get above the high of this previous candlestick here at 108.18. If you look at it, it has like a nice big move, small retracement, and then a little bit of an inside bar, broke to the downside, but then buyers stepped in and kept it above this previous resistance here. So buyers are in control right now. I want to see it break out above. Let me just do this so you can see a little bit more clearly. I want to see it break out above, obviously, high of day. First target would be the 106.30. Next target would be 106.59. Above that would be 107. 107, which is right here. And then from there we can target that 108. Lots of buyers are sitting here, right? Even though sellers came and stepped in and maybe took some profit here, a lot of buyers sitting in this area. So if buyers can continue to fight and bring it above the top of this red candlestick, I think that Google is going to be something that we get to play for the next couple of weeks. And the last one is NVIDIA. NVIDIA on the weekly has been an absolute monster. It formed the inverse head and shoulders. Here is your shoulder, broke through that line, strong move to the upside, inside week, continuation, inside week, fake out, continuation, right? So I have an alert set for 270, 254. Let's go to the daily. So we had, and it had kind of the same setup, bull flag breakout, bunch of indecision in these past 4 days. But we formed a new high on Wednesday. Thursday, we formed an inside bar with a doji. Friday, there was a bunch of sell pressure, but some buyers stepped in towards the end of the day at previous resistance. They're forming support. So I'm looking for the same thing as AMD. I want to see it kind of hold support within this level, pretty much stay within the range of this candlestick, maybe for the first 2 days. And then from there, try to take it for a continuation to the upside. If not, then, I mean, there's some good downside targets. It's going to give us one of these big candlesticks in the next couple of days, right? It's been doji after doji after doji. We're going to get a big candlestick like this. It's either going to be breaking down here and targeting here, something like that, right? A candle that fills here, or breaking above this 275 and then giving us like a 285, right? Immediately. So that's what I'll be looking at for NVIDIA. I'm very interested in NVIDIA. NVIDIA is another one that stays on the chart at all times. I have DKS here. I don't think it's ready yet. It did. So it had the falling wedge breakout. If you were there on Wednesday's call or whatever day it was, I think it was this day, Tuesday. Tuesday midweek kind of play-by-play recap of the weekly watch list. I was like, you know what? It looks like it wants to break out, but it still has this downside move to fill. It still has some of this gap to fill. And ultimately, that's what I want to happen. And I'm happy that it did happen because, you know, if it just goes up and it fails again, if it just breaks out and fails again at this high, it's going to fall very, very hard. And it's not fun to play more to the downside. It's better to play to the upside, this thing. So I like for it to come down and kind of find support, bounce around in this area. You know, it undid this whole move, which is fine by me, right? A bunch of buyers stepped in. And so there might be a potential continuation, break above the high of day, test the previous high of day, right? That's what I'm looking for with this. But it's not the prettiest setup, so it's sitting in a weird color. Next one is Macy's. Again, not the prettiest setup. It's sitting right at support. right at where I expected it to kind of land. I was hoping for it to break down below and kind of work its way down to $15. But excuse me, but we can get a potential bounce at this level. Just like this looks like a demand zone, right? Where buyers step in and bring price way up. So it might get the bounce, it might not. But again, I'm not sure what it's doing, which is why it's not. It's like, if you see, I have it in a different color, right? They're in a different color. So, and let's look at ES while we're here, and we'll wrap the call after that. ES on this is the daily. And again, we have this high that we want to take out here on ES at 43.27, and we have this low on ES that we want to take out at 35.02. Everything between those two levels is going to be chop. So those are the major supply and demand zones, and so those are the areas that I want to hit, where we can get a nice, maybe the start of a new trend, right? Whether it be a continuation to the downtrend to complete the bear market, or maybe a local uptrend where we get like 2 or 3, 4, 5 weeks of trendy move to the upside. So we'll see. I think it's interesting. Right now we are making new highs above Friday's highs. There's some sell pressure activating here at the highs of the previous day. We want to take out this 50-day if we want to make some damage to the upside. But we are holding above 4,000, so I expect that we're going to test 4,000 from the upside first, test it as support, and then see if we can continue to move to the upside. So we'll see. I used to be like, oh yeah, this is going up, let's just trade it up. Now I'm like, which way is it going? Like, I'm not trying to marry anything or have a bias. I just see, the best way to do it is kind of see which way it's going, catch the 2, 3, 4, 5 candlesticks, catch 4 or 5 days with enough time, and make your money, and don't be married to anything. So thank you guys for being on the call. Really appreciate it. I think I'll do another midweek one this week. Maybe we'll do it on Wednesday. And, there were suggestions that we can have members go through their trades and talk through their trades. And I think that that's very crucial and valuable. So I think that we'll be doing that this week, Wednesday. So if you guys can tap in, maybe take a trade that you want to talk about, and we can talk about it all together. But thank you guys. Thank you for being on this call, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Night.